The Big E Sports Show.
Yeah, we got it going on,
The fastest hour in sports entertainment. We don't just talk about the headlines. We bring you some of the most engaging and colorful guests each and every episode for your listening pleasure. Now, without further ado, here's your host, Elissa Walker-Campbell.
Elissa Walker-Campbell, we are back with the Big E Sports Show, and the countdown to the Ryder Cup is officially on, just about 20 days away at Bethpage Black in New York. And here to break it all down, we welcome back former PGA Tour player, top instructor, and that is Larry Miller. Good to have you back in the saddle, Larry. How are you?
Sure is. It seems like it's been forever, but I'm looking forward to this, talking some golf again, and we got a lot to talk about.
Well, less than 3 weeks to go. What do you think the vibe is inside Team USA's preparations heading into Bethpage?
I think the expectations are really great, and the vibes are very positive. We have a great team, and we're going to have a great team because the Europeans, they're stacked pretty good too. They've got a lot of stars there, and a lot of guys playing well at the moment. So I think it's going to be a really interesting Ryder Cup this time. And the venue is, I love the venue because that's what it should be. It should be difficult, and they don't come much more difficult than Bethpage Black. So I'm looking for a very spirited, tough competition.
Well, Bethpage Black is one of the toughest public courses in the world. It's brutally long. It's narrow. It is punishing around the greens. Larry, you are a former PGA Tour player. Have you ever played it?
Yeah, I played it one time. The feature is the rough and the length of the golf course. It's as most people out there know, you've probably heard about it by now. When you get to the first tee, there's a big sign saying, only the expert golfer should be attempting to play this golf course.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's one of the toughest in the country. And the rough's going to be up there, and it's going to play long. And so I think both teams have long hitters for the most part. And so it's going to end up being two things. It's going to end up being who can hit the fairways, keep it out of that deep rough, and, of course, putting. Putting always seems to determine the outcome of golf tournaments.
It is a separator. Hey, let's talk about the leadership style and Team USA. I mean, what are your expectations for Keegan Bradley, at what he brings to the table as the U.S. Ryder Cup captain?
I think he's a great captain because of his fire that he not only plays with, everything he does, and I think he's going to bring that to the captaincy as well, with the emotion. He'll get that locker room really fired up, and I think he's a great choice. And on the other side, you've got kind of the opposite personality. So you got a pretty good contrast there of leadership, and so it's going to come down to the players. The captains don't play, but the big job the captains have, is trying to get the right mix, trying to get the right people playing together and get that chemistry that really works. And so that's what the Europeans have been so good at in the past. I think he's going to get that going for our team this time.
Well, Team USA, Keegan Bradley, he has, as you were talking about, has always been known for his passion and just a fiery kind of guy. And I certainly anticipate that will translate and pay very big dividends with his role with Team USA. But let's hear some about Luke Donald. I mean, what kind of leadership qualities does he bring, and how does his style compare to past European champions or captains, I should say?
Well, he's kind of the quiet type, He doesn't have a lot to say, and he's not very emotional and vocal when he plays golf. He plays golf that way. He was a great player in his own right, and that's the way he played. You didn't see a lot of emotion one way or the other, no reaction for bad shots, negative reaction, and not much celebration on good ones. Kind of an even keel kind of guy. Unlike Keegan Bradley, who's just the opposite. So, but however, he's the tactician. When he was playing, he was known for his strategic play. He knew how to pick apart a golf course, methodically. And so anyway, like I said, it's a great contrast of styles, not only playing but in captaining the team too. So it'll be really interesting to see which technique ends up on top.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about the Ryder Cup, it always has a heartbeat player. And who do you believe will be that emotional leader and the heart of Team USA? I have to tell you before you give me your answer, I'm thinking Justin Thomas, because I think that's one of the reasons why he was selected, and that he will be able to provide that for the team.
I think that he definitely is one of them, and I think there's another one. And I think Bryson DeChambeau brings the same thing. And the fans love Bryson. And I think he can be a fiery kind of guy, too. So those two guys, they're going to, along with Keegan, they're going to get that locker room really rocking. And I think that you're going to see a lot more emotion out of the American side than you've seen in past years.
How do you think that each one of these captains are going to advise their team about embracing the noise, the chaos that takes place at the Ryder Cup? I mean, how do you narrow your focus so that you can go out and hit quality shots and shots that count?
Well, I think there's two different things that are going to happen there with each side. I think the American side is going to use that as fuel and a positive and a motivator, and it's going to really get the adrenaline going for them. I think on the European side, they're going to have to deal with it. That's going to be the way that's going to happen. They're going to have to try to deal with it, because it's not only going to be noise and cheering for the American side, but you know how Ryder Cups go. There's going to be some boisterous people that are literally pulling against them, and vocally too, not just keeping it inside. So they're going to have to deal with that, whereas the Americans are going to use that as an adrenaline pump.
Former PGA pro Larry Miller with us, our very special guest on the Big E Sports Show. And I think what is always fascinating when you talk about the Ryder Cup is how these captains go a bit about with the pairings. So what do you think makes an effective pairing when they're putting it all together and working out this strategy?
Well, what you try to do is you try to get the long game guy with the short game guy, so that you got all bases covered. You want to try to get a guy who drives the heck out of the ball, can hit it straight and long, and then good iron player. And then you want to get a guy who's really good around the range, who's known for his chipping and putting. And if you can mix those two together, now you've got a team that can cover everything. And I think that's the challenge for the captains, is to try to put that chemistry together on their side. And of course, you can't do it with every twosome, because you just can't. It's a matter of mathematics, but that's what you try to do. And I think that we have on our side, we have a great mix of that. And so, for instance, Sam Burns is the best putter on the PGA Tour statistically. When you put him with Scotty Scheffler, who statistically is the best ball striker, and that's a formidable pairing.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing you look for.
Well, those captains, they want to utilize their team's overall strength, like you're talking about, whether it's putting, it's power or experience to maximize and to get those points. But how do they prepare their team for, we were just talking about Bethpage Black and just how loud and intimidating it can be, but how do you prepare your players mentally for that kind of hostile environment? Because you know that there's going to be subtle tactics taking place that these teams will be employing that perhaps as fans that we won't notice, but things to throw those players. What do you do?
There's not much you can do. Like I said, they're going to have to deal with it. You can talk to them all you want, and you can warn them, and you can tell them how to psychologically deal with it. But when it comes down to it, and you're out there between the ropes, inside the ropes, and it's happening, it's a whole other matter whether or not your emotional makeup can handle it. And that's going to be the challenge for the Europeans. But you know what? That's why it's a home course advantage. And the home team always has that advantage. So that's what I think. I think in this case, this particular Ryder Cup, I think that the home course advantage is going to weigh more heavily than it has ever, because you know how New York is.
Oh, yeah.
In the New Yorkers. And so the Europeans are going to have a really hard time dealing with it.
Hey, Larry Miller is a life member of the PGA of America. He is a former PGA Tour player, prolific author. His latest release, Ben Hogan's Secret Fundamental, What He Never Told the World. And Larry, when I reflect on all your years on tour and playing, you've had to play with some folks that, did a little chirping and some noise. How did you narrow your focus and go out there and hit quality shots?
Well, I learned early on to get in my bubble when it was my turn to play.
Yeah.
And listen, I also had the advantage of growing up playing golf at a public golf course in New Orleans that all sorts of characters played out there, gamblers and all sorts of people with guns on their ankles. And I was 16 years old playing for $1,000 Nassau.
Wow.
And I grew up with all that stuff. And so I was kind of buffered and sort of numb to it by the time I got started playing. And so I've always been able to deal with outside distractions that way because of the way that I came up, experiencing it at a young age. But it definitely can, some people, it can really get to, and it can. What happens is it gets their metabolism up, and they get a little quicker with their swing, get a little quicker with their transition. Next thing you know, you're not striking the ball the way you normally do. And so you have to be able to deal with that. There's various techniques. You have to be able to breathe. That's a big one there. You got to keep your metabolism down. Don't let it get fast because then your swing gets fast. So breathing really helps, real deep breaths, inhale, exhale. Long inhale, long exhale. Do that 3 or 4 times, and it actually lowers your heartbeat, your pulse rate. So that's one way to deal with it.
Well, the countdown to the Ryder Cup is on, but also for golf fans, the countdown, you got to mark it down in December. Golf fans are going to get a made-for-TV treat. Rory McIlroy and Scottie Scheffler will be going head-to-head in prime time on the Golf Channel. How do you feel about all this? Are you looking forward to that, Larry?
I feel the same way I do about wrestling matches on television.
Yeah, I didn't know if this one was going to be a little bit different. Come on, these guys are big time champions.
Well, everybody wants to see the best players in the world play, but I want to see them play for something that really means something, not just an exhibition. But at the same time, you get to see how they play and you watch great swings and great shots that they hit. So it has its value, but I don't. To me, it's not a real serious endeavor.
Yeah. From the gridiron to the fairways, it's the Big E Sports Show where we cover it all. And give us a follow on Twitter at eRadioSports. And Larry, as we get ready to wrap up, where can our audience find you online? And, of course, get a copy of so many of your books.
Yeah, just Google Larry Miller Golf Books, and it'll tell you all about my books and all about me. And I think if you take a look at the books, I think you'll learn a little something and really improve your golf game. Especially the first book called Holographic Golf was really good for especially beginners and players who are just learning the game. It's a great textbook for them to simplify learning the game.
Good stuff. Hey, Larry, we look forward to another conversation next week. Enjoy the weekend and all the festivities. The NFL and college football is finally back.
Yes, and glad to be back with you and looking forward to the season.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.